of matrimony, the great gift we receive from the Lord to bless our lives. And we do couples time out every month. It's a short, very strong moment of reflection. It's usually from 9:30 to 11:30, but twice a year we take a longer time and we do a morning of reflection. So we do it in Advent and in Lent to prepare for the two big celebrations of Easter and Christmas, to be prepared as a couple, because it's very demanding from our children, from family, from work, from society, from everywhere. It's a very demanding time of the year. So we need to be balanced. We need to be deeply rooted in our faith in order to not let all these graces escape. It's a very blessed time of the year, and we want to live it as that. And this first talk, to invite or to motivate you in your couples dialogue, has to do with the sacrament of matrimony, but how we can discover it again through the Advent season. These mornings of reflections are not centered in the talk itself, but it's centered in the dialogue that you guys are going to have, because that is the center of married life. We can go to talks, we can go and do retreats, we can go and read books, we can do a lot of things, but the center of our married life is the moment that is just the two of us talking to one another. And that is the beauty of marriage. The personal life of each one of us is decided when we talk in the silence of our hearts to God. That is the center of our life. I go to Mass, I go to adoration, I receive all my sacraments, but they're not just magic. I can receive all the sacraments, I can, put holy water in my forehead, I can receive communion every day, but if I don't take time to talk to God, nothing's going to happen. Because grace is not magic. It's not a magic wand that suddenly I'm holy. It happens when I take time off to talk to my God. Well, as every sacrament, the grace in the sacrament of matrimony flows when we take time off to discover God in each other. And we need time to talk about it. And it's a very different talk. That's why we invite you all to keep coming through the year every month. Because it helps us to understand that spiritual life is not another conversation. It's not just another discussion where we come together and try to solve things. It's a free moment of grace where I share my spiritual life with you. It's not telling you how your spiritual life should be. It's not telling you what things you should change. That's just discussing. But spiritual conversation is when I freely tell you where I'm at spiritually, where I'm standing in my spiritual life right now. And that is the mystery of our couple's spiritual life together. The second thing that is important to know is that there is a couple spirituality. We were called to live a unique mystery in the sacrament of matrimony as a couple. Each one of you has a spiritual life, and that is wonderful. And you can work on your spiritual life when you go to Acts retreat, when you go to church retreat, when you go to a silent retreat alone, and that's beautiful. But there is a spirituality as a couple. You were called to bring to the world something unique. And God thought you together as a couple from all eternity. So our task in life is to discover, what do we bring to this world? What is our spirituality? And we discover that when we have a spirituality together. It's not, I pray in my car, I pray at home. I go to adoration, I try to say a rosary, when I have time. But how many things do we do together in our spiritual life? And that's what makes the difference. So how can we discover in Advent the reality of our sacrament of married life together? First, the Blessed Mother Mary gives us a great example in the way she receives the Annunciation. The time of Advent is that time of Mary when she discovered that she is called to live the greatest mission that anybody can live, that is being the mother of the Messiah, the mother of Jesus Christ himself. First, it is surprise. The greatest surprise that anybody can receive. An angel appears to her and tells her, you are going to be the mother of God. And that surprise lasted her whole life. She was always amazed by the mystery that she had been chosen. How surprised am I with my spouse? How surprised am I with what you bring to my life? How surprised am I with what my spouse's personality brings to my life? We can never get used to each other. My spouse is always an annunciation to me, and we have to learn to look at each other like that. It's not easy because we know each other too well. We know too much about each other. That's a blessing on one side because we can help each other, but that's also a challenge because I know which buttons to press if I wanna, if I wanna give you a hard time. So how can we be surprised in a positive way from each other, as the Blessed Mother was in the Annunciation? Because we need to live in that spirit of surprise. The moment I get used to you is the moment that we go back to square one and begin again. Okay, what do you bring to my life? What is the surprise that you bring to my life? Secondly, Mary realized that she was very limited for that task, that she wasn't strong enough for that task. That's why she recognizes herself as the handmaid of the Lord. And she recognizes that she would only be able to fulfill the task if the Lord was with her, the full of grace. We are limited for this task of being married. Of course we are. Who, could say, I am going to live with you forever? Who could say, I am going to give the best of me to you forever? Who could say, we're going to stay together forever? Humanly, that's crazy. Nobody is strong enough. Nobody has the personal, physical, spiritual, psychological strength to go and do a promise like that. Well, why do we do that? Why do we go to a church with our friends, with our priest, and tell everybody there, and God included, I'm going to live with this person forever? Because as the Blessed Mother did, we recognize that we're going to do it with God. So our limitations are part of who we are, and we have to learn to work with those limitations. I cannot make my love to you conditional. I love you, but you got to work on this. I love you, but you need to change that. I love you, but I don't want this to happen again. I love you, and I love you, period. I love you how you are. Of course, we're going to work the things that are hurting, the things that are making our relationship hard. But I love you anyway. And that's the center of our life together. That's the center of our marriage. As our Blessed Mother discovered that she was limited, that her weaknesses were part of who she was, and she discovered that her mission was going to be fulfilled only if God was with her, well, that's why we receive a sacrament. Because we know that our human strength is not enough, and that's not a problem. So let us take that pressure out of our hearts and say, we are limited, we are weak, we have weaknesses. But with those weaknesses, God is gonna work in our life. Third, the Blessed Mother was thankful. She sang the Magnificat, an old Jewish song of thankfulness to the Lord for all the blessings they had received. And she sings that Magnificat to her cousin Elizabeth to show that her life has changed forever. How often do we thank each other? How often do I thank you for the things you do good? How often do we thank each other for being spouses, for being married? How often do we thank for our children? We take so many things for granted. We take health, we take job, we take love for granted, and it's not. Look around your own extended families, your friends. How many people is going through so many hard times to find a person to love, to find a person to live with, to get along with their children? We also have our difficulties, but we are trying. We are trying to make this work, and that's not evident. That's why the Magnificat of our Blessed Mother is a constant invitation for us to be thankful. I will never take your love for granted. I will never take you as my spouse for granted. You are a blessing to me. And we should get used to say those nice things to each other. But the Blessed Mother's Magnificat wasn't just reciting or singing a psalm with her cousin Elizabeth. It was also an apostolate. She went there to help. She went there with the greatest gift of all in her womb, to help somebody in need. And that's also an aspect of our married life together. Being married today, in this world, in this society, in our Catholic Church in the United States, today, it's an apostolate. 50 years ago, it was a tradition. 50 years ago, it was the normal thing to do. You know, you come together, you find a good spouse, and you go through life, you know, you have children, and you build up your family. Today, it's not. Today, there are many things before family. Job is more important, money is more important, the car is more important, the house is more important. Not for us. Not for us. For us, this project is the center of our life. For us, this project is what really makes us who we are. For us, this project is where we want to put all our energies. And the car, the house, the job, the money will come in order to make this project happen. They will be used as tools to make this relationship, this project of love, happen. And that's why we want to understand the sacrament of matrimony for us as an apostolate. What you do to be a united couple, what you do to be faithful to each other, what you do every day to raise up your children and to be a Catholic family, changes the world. It gives an example to people around you. I met this mother up in Fort Worth, where we go with the fathers to work with the family ministry once a month, and she has 7 kids, you know, and can be hard when time of doing the groceries comes. But she goes with all the 7 kids to Costco. Because she says, Father, I have never gone without somebody asking, 7 kids? Like, why on earth would you have 7 kids? You know, she always gets into a conversation. So she calls it her Costco apostolate. So she goes there with the 7 kids, you know, making all the groceries, then putting them back in the car. So there's always, hey, do you need help? Somebody comes, and always has been a moment for a good conversation and tell people about the beauty of being a family. You know, how can we be those apostles? How can we help people through our humble little testimony to find also a reason for their lives? We have to transform our annunciation. Our annunciation is the day we got married, the day that God pronounced the blessing on our wedding. But our annunciation has to be transformed into a visitation. How can we make this sacrament an apostolate for people? But finally, the life of our Blessed Mother, through all those blessings, the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ, growing up with Jesus, the wedding of Cana, all the beautiful aspects of the Blessed Mother were fulfilled and completed at the foot of the cross. And that is also part of Advent. We don't discover many of the traditional paintings of Advent together with the manger and the animals and the baby Jesus and the Holy Family. Many painters hide in some part of the painting the cross, the crown of thorns, the crucifixion of the Lord, because it's part of the Lord's life. But the mystery of the joy of the Lord, the joyful mysteries of the Rosary, happen because also we have sorrowful mysteries. And that's when we understand crosses. Being Catholic, being faithful people, it's not just a supernatural protection against danger or hardship. We suffer as anyone. We suffer as an atheist, we suffer as anybody in this world. being people of faith, being baptized, being married in the church, and praying every day, it doesn't spare us from the natural pains, the natural sufferings of life. That is part of our life. But we have an extra that is called grace. That we understand that cross is part of the new birth. Cross is part of the resurrection. Cross is part of the joy of our lives. And that's when we can overcome cross in a different way. Together, because this is our project, we go through life together, and your problems are my problems, your family's problems are my problems, our children's problems are my problems. And we look at it with the perspective of who is in the cross. In the cross is Jesus giving his life for us. When we go to the shrine for Mass, you will see in the Schoenstatt cross, the Blessed Mother is there holding the cup, holding the chalice to receive the blessings, the blood of her Son Jesus Christ. At the foot of the cross is Mary helping us. So the cross is not just suffering. The cross is not just pain that we can take a pill and make it disappear. The cross is a God that is loving us in a way that purifies our ability to love each other. So let us not escape, let us not flee from the mystery of the cross, because our Blessed Mother in this time of Advent can help us to understand our life better. So we want to go with all these thoughts to our first moment of Mary discussion. There are some of personal discussion first, right?